And now our national spokesperson, Mr. Jonathan Jackson, is going to share with you the cost of inequities. We keep talking about what does reparations look like? Well, before you can repair the damage, you need to know the amount of damage and the cost of the damage. And you will hear from our national spokesperson, Mr. Jonathan Luther Jackson.
I am happy to share with you the good news that my mother, Mrs. Jacqueline Jackson, is continuing to recover at home, a survivor of COVID and a true proponent now of everyone getting vaccinated. Thank you for your prayers and well wishes. She's continued to gain strength. I'm also pleased to let you know that my father, Reverend Jesse Jackson, has made tremendous improvements at the Shirley Ryan Ability Center here in Chicago at Northwestern. He is walking and taking his physical therapy and looks very much to returning to his position here at Rainbow Push and getting back out on the road as a freedom fighter. So continued prayers for us. We'll pray for your family. Please stay safe. Let's follow the Center for Disease Control protocol. God bless you, and we thank you. There's a recent report that came out regarding inequality in the United States, and is now stated that inequality is costing the United States, has costed the United States $23 trillion since 1990. This has been a research report by Katerina Saravia. And what's most interesting about this report that I want to share with you is that now we are looking past 30 years since the reunification of Germany. Some young people need to know that there was once the Berlin Wall, there was the East-West divide, there was communism versus capitalism. But on that day in 1989, when Ronald Reagan says, bring down that wall, and it was decided with the German government that they would engage in reunification. The brothers on the east side of the wall would reunite with the families on the west side of the wall, the sisters and the families, the husbands and wives that had been torn apart because of ideological differences since the Cold War had been perpetrated, were now coming back together. It was at that time that the stronger of the two brothers and sisters, if you will, West German, that housed Volkswagen, Bayer Aspirin, scientists, they had the technology, they had Mercedes-Benz, they had all these great innovations. They took the conscious effort to reunite with their brothers and sisters on the eastern part, which was then known as East Germany. There was a commitment for $1 trillion to bring up the standard of living for East Germans to that of West Germany. Now we look back better than 30 years. There is no distinction in quality of life, standard of living, educational opportunity, academic, athletic achievements in an East German and a West German. So much so that this generation doesn't even know that there was a former wall, that there was a former separation within their own country between East and West. This has not happened in the United States. Now we're looking at, since 1990, we're looking at a $23 trillion cost of opportunity gap. What does that mean? That means because African-American men are making $8 an hour less on average than Caucasian men. That means because African-Americans are paying more for money and receiving less money, we don't have the disposable income to invest. Because we live in a country that has property taxes as the basis for how we fund our educational system, there are underfunded schools in our own country. This has demonstrated itself even on the athletic fields. When we looked at the Olympics this past year, look at other countries that are being able to put their children on the field. It's a gift, it's a blessing if our children, such as the Simone Biles, who had to leave her family to go stay with another family that would take in the interest to give her this extracurricular activity. Why wasn't that opportunity afforded to her in her own hometown, in her own neighborhood? Because we are now, what Reverend Martin Luther King had prophesied about, we are now on an island of poverty around an ocean of affluence. We are becoming poor. There are 3 million Americans, African Americans, that are teetering on bankruptcy, having no assets. They work hard, but they have no assets. Poverty, the definition I like to refer to, is people that have no assets. There are many people that are working hard, but because of the way our tax structure is set up, are unable to accumulate assets. And we know by housing, ownership, educational opportunities, we can advance this. The $23 trillion opportunity cost that has been hit amongst our community is only going to expand unless we correct it. How do we correct it? It's through taxation. It's simply by, the beautiful part of our economy is you don't have to pay taxes if you don't make money. But if you do make money, you ought to be honored to pay taxes in this great country. We have seen now the billionaires in our country want to go on spaceships and take tours into the universe where there's hunger space right here on Earth. We are a better nation than that. And my final thoughts on this opportunity gap, we can close the gap. We here at Rainbow Push would ask that you join us, participate. You're going to hear more about programs that we have up and coming. And we're going to specifically target those young people and those that are underemployed, persons that are looking for business opportunities. As we're talking about $3.5 trillion coming out of the federal government, who's going to advocate for us to have our fair share? We have a right for contract compliance. It's on the books. How can that be achieved? We have to make sure that it is written into the law. There should be partnerships. There should be joint ventures. It's the same thing that happened in East Germany. It's the same thing that happened when we said the communism had failed in Russia and they wanted to teach the Russians capitalism. This is how they were able to have glasnost and perestroika, openness and reform. We need to bring those same trade arrangements, reciprocal trade agreements, right back to our neighborhoods, to the hood, to the ghetto, to the inner city, right where we live. We should have victory abroad and victory at home. That was the motto of our Tuskegee Airmen. We're going to continue to fight for you, and we thank you for supporting us.